What's up, Brandos? Welcome back to another video. So as you know, tomorrow I'm going to be going over I'm going to be singing all the songs at the musical in a row. It's going to be a very long video. But before that, I want to do something special. So, you all know Epic the Musical. It's based off the Odyssey and everything. It's great, love it. But there's some inconsistencies between the two stories. And I want to go over that, because I haven't seen many people do it, which is weird. But I'll do it, because I'm bored. So I'm going to be basing it off of this and some of the actual books I'm at like book 4 currently on the actual story. But this pretty much goes over everything. It's really good. Some things are censored, but I know the main story, so we should be good. We're going to do this in chronological order, starting from the end of Troy, the Trojan horse, all the way to the end. So let's begin. Let's start with the Troy saga, which, if you can hear in the background, I am playing playing Epic the Musical in the background. But besides that, so what was I gonna say? Oh right, so let's start with the Troy saga. The Troy saga pretty much starts with the horse of the infant and all that stuff, but nothing really there is that big from Troy and stuff up until we get to the last 2 songs, okay? Which is Open Arms. Open Arms is a song where that does not at all happen in the original story. Not at all. Odysseus doesn't actually go onto the island with Polytes. A group of people do that he sends out, men he sends out there that go do that. And they pretty much explore, and they get taken over by the Lotus. Then they get dragged back, and they keep trying to claw their way back, but Odysseus forces them to keep going. And then they arrive at Polyphemus' island. And that's when that happened. And wait, no, something happens before that. It's the entire thing with Athena. None of that happens at all. Athena never gets to a fight with Odysseus at all. Not at all. That never happens. Never at all. I don't know why they decided to do this, but it's fine. And also, this is no like big thing. I love Epic the Musical, and I love Greek mythology and all this stuff. But I just want to point out the inconsistencies. Even though it's a great thing, love it. It's a great way to get into Greek mythology. It's just something that I've been wanting to do since no one else has done it yet, so I will. But also, the mythology guy might do it soon. I've only seen a few of his videos, but from what I can tell, he's really knowledgeable about this stuff, more knowledgeable than I probably am. So go check him out whenever he does post that video. But anyways, Odysseus never gets to a fight with Athena ever, which is interesting that he decided to add that, which, with the way you read the Odyssey, it actually kind of makes somewhat sense, but not really, because that never happens. But let's continue. And then when we get to the Polyphemus thing, Polyphemus does not die. At least I don't think he does. And if he did, it's not explicitly stated in the story he did. Instead, only six men. Only 6 died. Only 6. And it happened in the span of a few days. Each day, Polyphemus would grab 2 of Odysseus' men, kill them, then eat them. Then, on one of the days, Odysseus decides to give him wine. That does not contain Lotus. Instead, Polyphemus just gets drunk. That's literally what happens. And he passes out. Then, they sharpen the club and everything. That's normal. But one key detail, which they miss, is that they set it on fire, and then they stab him in the eye. No, that's not a joke. That's literally what happens. They shove a flaming spear in his eye. It is wild. And although Polyphemus does guard the door, well, yes, he does scream, and then Odysseus does give his name as nobody in the original story, which that all does happen. And then when Polyphemus cries, Cyclops come and he's like, I was attacked by nobody and all that stuff. That all does happen still. It's great. But he doesn't actually... The way they escape is they climb onto a sheep. They climb onto the other side of the sheep to ride out. That's how they escape. Because when Polyphemus goes over and like touches them or whatever, he just heals his sheep, and so he just lets them go. That's what happens. I don't remember explicitly if they did kill one of Polyphemus's sheep. They probably did, but I don't remember it fully. I remember most of it, like some of those smaller details, not so much, but some of the big main things I do. And when they leave, they then just go. They just keep going. He does tell Polyphemus that his name is Odysseus of Ithaca, which that does happen, but Athena doesn't really get involved with that at all. Like I said, they don't have a big fight or a big falling out at all. They just kind of move on. And yeah. Then the storm hits. That's all normal. That all happens. Then they go to Aeolus's island. Couldn't remember the name for some. It's Aeolus's island. They go there. And that's when he does give them the wind back. Technically the gods don't have a set gender. But yeah. And they give Odysseus the wind back. Then Odysseus leaves. Then it's not explicitly stated who opens the wind back. It doesn't say Eurylochus. It could have been Eurylochus, but it's not specifically stated it is. But anyways, they open the bag. Then that happens. They get sent back to them. That's the big thing. They get sent back to Aeolus's island, which I'm not going to cover the entire floating island thing because that Jorge already did that or whatever. I don't probably mispronouncing that. My bad. But he already goes over that, and then Aeolus then sends them with a bunch of winds to the land of the giants. Not to Poseidon. I know, weird, right? No, they don't go to Poseidon at all. Let me actually find it in my story real fast. But that's how they die, is that a bunch of giants throw rocks at their ships. That's what happens. Chapter 9, good thing. But, yeah, no, it's not Poseidon that smites them out. Oh no, there was already, I missed a detail, but it's a very small detail, it doesn't matter, but Zeus actually sent winds to send them to Lotus Eater Island, which, yeah, so it actually says here in the story, he sent 3 scouts out to learn what sort of people live there, and then the Lotus Eaters meant no harm. They were just peaceful and welcoming. They offered my men food, the lotus flower. That's what happens. But it doesn't state that Polites does that. That's the thing. It's not a big thing. I mean, Polites is a big thing, but otherwise it's not. Yeah. Hey, 2 men die. Smash. Ooh, I'm not gonna read that. I don't want to get demonetized for more demonetized, y'all. Yeah, it happens that. That's for 4 men. Okay, so this is actually trapped in there for 4 days, was it? Or the Cyclops thing. He's trapped in there for 4 days. No, 2 days. Yeah, no, 3 days. 3 days. Hold on, 3 days. Sorry, y'all. 3 days, and 6 of his men died. 2 each day. But then when they leave. Ooh. Right, now let's continue. I guess it wasn't chapter 9, it's chapter 10. Aeolia, the floating kingdom of King Aeolus. Yeah, I already explained this. Let's look at I'm gonna keep reading. Hold on, y'all. It's gonna take a bit. I'm trying to find the backslide. Open his eyes. Yeah, they take it back to Aeolus's king. It takes it back to Aeolia, which is Aeolus's kingdom. Yeah, and Aeolus is mad, which then leads to them. Then Aeolus then sends them there. Oh no! They sailed, and they sailed to the land of the giants. Yeah. They don't ever encounter Poseidon during that point. They don't. I mean, it would make sense for them too, but they don't. Odyssey only ever actually encounters Poseidon once in this entire Odyssey. And that's later, but let's continue. So, he loses most of his men, of course. Then they get to Circe's island. And they get to Circe's island. Eurylochus and a bunch of men do go out, and then most of them get turned to men, and then all of them get turned to pigs except Eurylochus. Eurylochus comes back, tells Odysseus. Odysseus goes, encounters Hermes. And the moly thing is an actual thing. It's an actual root of the plant that is in the story. It's not called Foley moly, that's not what he says, but it is called moly. And he gives it to Odysseus, which actually encounters some other thing, which actually is Odysseus is actually the descendant of Hermes. Hermes and someone else. Don't remember who. But yes. And then they go. And then he goes to Calypso's island, which they don't actually have a big confrontation. No, it's more of just a simple they eat. Doesn't get turned into a pig. Calypso's what? And then he rushes at her, blade drawn, and acts like he's about to attack her. She offers him to go to her bed. He says only if you swear by the river of Shinx, something like that, to go that you will not harm me. She agrees. She does, and then yeah. That does not happen in the original story. I don't know what I get it, because he is still loyal to Penelope, but no. He spends a year there and becoming Circe's lover and everything. Then his crew reminds him that they have to still get home. So then he leaves, he goes home, and yeah. Or they leave, but he says that, but then Circe recommends that they go to the underworld to meet him. Don't remember his name, the prophet. And they do. Now this is where it gets really, really weird. They get there, and the way they do this, I'm pretty sure they put wine and something like that, or some sort of potion that allows spirits to speak to them. And a lot of his men and family and all this stuff try and drink. He denies them. Denies it all until the prophet gets here. The prophet comes, they have an interaction which is very similar to what's on there. Then he lets his mom, then men, then all of that. Then they leave, go back to Cersei's big part. Go back to Cersei, which Cersei tells them about the sirens, Scylla, and Charybdis. I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to pronounce that name. But the saying that's there after Dangerous, after that song. That's what they warn about. See, this is where things get really out of pocket now. This is where things get really messed up. They leave. Sirens in Greek mythology are bird women, not fish women. Yep, that's right. They're birds with women heads that still do the singing thing. And the way that it actually happens a lot different in the story. So, all of his men do put beeswax in their ears, except Odysseus. Odysseus has himself be tied to the flagpole with, I don't think it was a blind. He might have had a blindfold on, but I don't think so. But he was tied to the pole without beeswax, so he could hear the songs. And they would sing and everything. He'd want to leave, but his men just tie him up tighter. Then they go. It's that they don't actually really kill any of them or anything at all. None of that happens. But then they leave, and get to that area where Scylla and Charybdis, I don't know, that thing is there. Now this is the thing though, is that in Greek in the mythologies is that you have to pick which one you want to see. Chari, I'm just gonna call him Chari from now on. It is a she. Pretty much leads to most death, or just entire death of your crew. So it's better off to go with Scylla, which he does, but he has to go between them in a way almost. It goes more towards Scylla than Chari. And Scylla takes 6 of his men. He managed to get through. Afterwards, he never gets in a fight with. Yeah, he doesn't get into a fight with Eurylochus. Just simple as that. He just does not get into a fight with Eurylochus at all. Which was the big thing in the story, because that's how they got to the island. No, they just sail there after a few days, and while Odysseus is asleep, they kill one of the cattle. Which, actually, on its own, isn't a bad thing. And the main thing, it's the way they did it. They killed the cattle and made a makeshift, almost shrine tribute thing for the gods, which seemed as a mockery to them, which is why Zeus came. And then Zeus and all that stuff happens. Then when they try and leave, that's when they get struck. Then he encounters Chari again. He holds onto a fig tree while she's trying to kill him. It doesn't work, and he gets shot out with water. Then landing at Calypso's island. That's what happens. That's simple as that. Then get the thing with Athena. It's actually first Athena has the meeting with the gods about it, which is taking a lot of time because it's not like there's like no violence at all. It's just simple conversation. Then Zeus tells Hermes to go tell whatever. That happens. Then we get to the part where we get to the suitors. That gets taken a lot differently. There's no big fight between Telemachus and Antinous. That doesn't happen actually in the story until like the very end or whatever. Well, no, at the very end, something else happens. But no big battle happens between there. It's just a big confrontation, bunch of talking pretty much. And then in the actual musical, it doesn't have at all of Telemachus' adventure, which actually makes sense. It would add maybe about 15 minutes maybe or so added to the actual musical, which should be like an hour. We should make like over an hour and a half. 2 hours and a half, my bad. Where's 2 hours and 3/4? But anyways, they yeah, they leave. They go to different areas. What was one of them? Nestor. They go to Nestor's place first, then Menelaus's, where they're given a lot of gold, and then go back. This happens like on like I think like a few weeks. Then they head back. But Athena warns, which actually Athena was actually disguised most of this time as an older person, or as a king. Some king is his name, I don't remember, but she was disguised for most of the journey. But yeah, then they get back to the island, but the thing is though that Telemachus knows what's happening. He knows that he's gonna try and be killed by the suitors, so he goes through a different way. He goes through a back way or whatever, and goes onto a beach instead, stopping the suitors' plans, which makes them mad. So they go back into the castle or whatever. Alright, now let's go back to Odysseus. Calypso, and why don't he get down with Calypso? Calypso, how do I say this in a very PG way? Pretty much forced against his will to do things with Calypso. Best way to explain it. For like 8 years. Yeah, 7 years about that. Then she gives him bronze axe. Bronze or copper, one of those. To which then he builds himself a ship that he then sent. Then, and only then, just Poseidon get there. Oh, minor detail I missed back at Circe's island is that there was a guy that drank wine from Circe's palace. They drink wine from the chalice on top of Circe's palace. Yes, that is like a big short thing that was like released or whatever, but that does happen in the story. They wrote him tribute or something, I guess, about it. That happens. And then let's go back. Then let's go to the present now. He gets attacked by Poseidon. Poseidon now attacks him for killing his son, but then sends him to another island. Alcinous, something like that. How this? That. I think. I don't know for sure. But he goes there. That's when he explains his story. That could have been like maybe a song, just added in there, just to make sure. Then he gets a bunch of stuff back, and in his sleep he gets sailed back to his island, which he doesn't recognize because Athena put a spell on it. But then he goes to one of his best friends. It's one of his great friends. He goes there, I'm pretty sure, disguised as an old person by Athena. Then he goes there and then they talk. It's a cow taker. They do this. Telemachus comes. But I'm pretty sure before that he reveals that he's Odysseus. Tells him not to tell anyone. He doesn't. Then they do these things. Also, another thing is that the maids that work there are not loyal. He has them executed at the end of it. And that happens. Okay. And it's not gonna be great way describing it, but he eventually reveals himself to Telemachus and everyone else, or most people, but he still describes an old man whenever he goes back to his palace. By the way, he had a dog there that died because he wasn't fed anything at all. Very sad. But they go in and he pretty much talks to the old man, and then when Penelope gives him the challenge with the bow thing and everything, he does it. He shoots through the axes, and they're like, what? He reveals himself. He dumps arrows on the ground, then he shoots Antinous in the neck. big fight breaks out with Telemachus and two other people that were very loyal to Odysseus. They all battle. A small detail before this is that one of his caretakers when he was younger, that was pretty much almost like his mom in a way, which is something that happens a lot of Greece and all that stuff. Noted was cleaning him up by pinning his feet or something. Noticed the scar that he got from the boar, which isn't really on the story, which is actually it's more good later on, but whatever. And he's like, be quiet about it. She's like, yes. They do this, they do that. Then they kill pretty much all of the suitors. Then they have then they have pretty much all the maids executed. And then he goes to Penelope. Penelope have a great reunion. Everything. After this, which I thought, that song, it's like the last song, I don't remember what it's called. But that pretty much does not happen at all. But then Odysseus leaves to then go find his dad. Then him and his dad reunite. Then he builds an offering to Poseidon to save his city and whatever. And Poseidon accepts it. And it's all good. Pretty much. And then that's the end of the Odyssey. Like, I put out the biggest things that were different between the two things. Yeah. Now let's continue to a little bit after this. When he dies to his and Circe's son, whose name is Telegonus. Telegonus is part of another series of books. It's called the Telegoni, which he kills his dad because he was taken to Ithaca by winds that he didn't know it was Ithaca. So then he raided and killed his dad. Which, yeah, led to a lot of stuff. Pretty much, he then marries Penelope, and Telemachus marries Circe. Yeah, very interesting. Greek mythology for y'all. Anyways, I just wanted to share that stuff with you. Hope y'all like it. I'll be talking to y'all tomorrow about the Sing Every Song. Also, you should pick up this book. It is really good. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace. Always remember, stay random.